So hey you guys, I hope y'all can hear me. I'm not gonna wait for any particular people to get on. I just wanted to share this. I'm actually going over a ministry dream right now. I share with y'all I have a lot of dreams and visions from the Father, and I write them down and everything. And a lot of it is just like His revealed will for my life, different things we're gonna be doing, job wise, career wise, ministry wise, people that I'm called to. And I actually just wanted to kind of do a short video about this. It may not be short because I talk a lot, but um, y'all know that I shared with y'all a few times. I have some sensitive triggers, and I've kind of shared a little bit about the insecurities that I have when it comes to being underdeveloped in some areas, or just not having certain levels of experience as a 27-year-old. Just due to isolation, just being sheltered, and the Father just kind of having me in this corner, and Him, training and preparing me in His own way. And that's actually something that's very attached to the rejection that I deal with individually, and it's a part of the reason why I feel like it's responsible for, like, the mood disorders and stuff I deal with, anxiety, suicidal thoughts on and off. I was actually having that like an hour ago. And to be honest, it just randomly comes up. It's not even something I can control. And it's really just tied to just shame and embarrassment. And I don't want to be like that minister that I feel like I do it a lot. And I feel like when I do that, it's really just the Father using me. I don't take credit for those kind of messages, but I don't want to be that kind of minister that's encouraging people in the areas where I feel like I'm still struggling really hard, myself personally. When it comes to just, knowing how to love yourself, a lot of us don't even understand what that means or even know where to begin to do something like that. But a lot of it is just the Father just personally speaking to my heart and just different revelations He'll give me. And if I feel like it's a really good word, it'll edify somebody else, I'll just do a video and I'll post it. But that actually is one of my biggest insecurities. And I know that a lot of other people, they share those same insecurities as well because they've gone through the same things. And you'd actually be surprised of how common that really is, that a lot of people that are mature adults, they're not um, mature development wise, or maybe even, mentally in a lot of different areas. So like I said, I'm going over one of the dreams. And it is a career dream. A lot of them are because they're prophetic stuff. And it's just a lot of different people that I'm going to be encountering in different seasons and stuff. And I'm at the end of the dream. And I wrote this down like last year, but I noticed that one of the women that I had as a boss or a manager over me at this time, I noticed that on the surface, she really seemed to be like this gorgeous, professional, type of boss like figure and everything. But, once me and my other coworkers got a chance to see how she really was behind the scenes, I was shocked that she had one of my coworkers like typing for her what she had to say to us. She looked completely different behind the scenes. She did not look anything, like her glammed up version of herself on the surface. And it was kind of just like you got to see the uncovered version of her. She was very underdeveloped. She didn't have any real communication skills. She seemed really fragile, really insecure. It was something that would be like embarrassing and shameful for somebody to witness. Like if you got a chance to see like what she really was like behind closed doors. And as I was, reading it, I had the Father just kind of like, kind of jolt my spirit. Because, like I said, a lot of these dreams, when I have dreams from the Father, I immediately like write it down in detail. But I don't usually get to interpreting all of them because it takes hours to interpret just one dream. And I have like hundreds of them. So, but he has me going over it and reviewing it right now. And he pointed that part out to me because I just thought that was so interesting that this is a woman who's like probably a decade or if not a few more years older than you even by this point, and you see behind the scenes, nobody else really knows the true core her but y'all, because y'all work up under her up close and personal. But yes, she has no communication skills. She seems like she just doesn't have a lot of, a lot of basic skills that somebody in that type of that type of sphere of influence or, profession should have, and nobody else would know that on the surface except you. And she's actually one of the people that I'm appointed to prophetically in this season for ministry. And I ended up ministering to her and just edifying her spirit and prophesying to her in the dream at the very end. And she was somebody that was so nasty to us in the dream. Like, I haven't met her yet, obviously, but just very, abusing her authority. She's very bossy. In the dream, she fired us and everything. It was just like this back and forth. Like, she would fire us and the girls, and then like she would bring us back. And, we're in the office with her and we get a chance to see that she's like nothing like what you probably would thought she would be, prior to actually getting to know her personally. And when I saw those specific details that I had listed about her when I initially wrote this dream down, I immediately thought of myself. And I said, well, it makes sense why the Father would put you in that atmosphere to work under her and to appoint you to her for ministry, because she's just like you. And this is somebody much older than you. And, we don't think about that. When people, depending on what type of profession it is or what type of influence or career it is, people are meant to give a certain image to you of what they want things to be like or how the person is supposed to be. But you don't really know what that person is like behind the scenes. Only people that have really been a part of a company for years and that have been working with this boss up close and personal for a really long time know what this person is really like. And there's even a degree of professionalism to where you can't even reveal those details of what you really know about that person. They'll have you sign in NDAs and all that kind of stuff, so if you ever were to leave, you cannot reveal those things to the public. And, for me to witness that about her in this dream, I was shocked. She had one of my coworkers typing a typewriter of what she had to say to us because she did not know how to communicate. And it even seems like there was a sense of illiteracy with her as well. And what's so interesting? It makes me think of how it came out that R. Kelly he can't read or write. I did not know that. And at first I thought that that was just like a rumor going around. I was like, he's so talented. He makes amazing music. I was like, why would he, be illiterate? But it's true. He does not know how to read or write. I think R. Kelly never went to school. I forgot like what the actual factual details are. But no, R. Kelly, all the music he's ever produced, he's had other people like write for him. I think he probably just discussed it with them, like what he wanted the music to be about. So he's still the writer, but as he had other people helping them. So it made me think about that aspect that I actually heard from a documentary in relation to this figure that I'm going to be associated with. Yeah, thank you. His childhood trauma stunted his development. Yeah. But that's how this boss figure was in my dream. And I said that makes sense of why the Lord would, appoint you to her, because she has those same frailties and those same ailments that you do. And I thought that was going to be an awesome word of encouragement for y'all. Because I don't know y'all personally. I mean, y'all don't know me. Well, you probably do know me personally from watching my videos, because I share a lot of personal stuff. But I don't know if y'all deal with the same issues that I do. I know some people may. I trust that he'll send those people to my channel. But yeah, it's common to just feel a lot of shame and humiliation and embarrassment with being somebody that has those type of shortcomings. Especially if you're really in a professional atmosphere, you have people that can protect you and that can protect your image who would never find out something like that about you. And we don't have that benefit, of course, but it just goes to show you how, we need to question our reality. The people that you're comparing yourselves to are probably no better than what you are. They could be probably skilled and developed in areas that you're not, but at the same time, you could be flourishing in areas where they're not. And that's always a common thing. I just think it's so interesting that a lot of us, especially speaking for myself, we're so quick to put ourselves down, and it's like we're the ones who actually have an intimate relationship with Yahuwah. We're the ones who actually hear from him. Do you know how many people, they don't even understand the concept of hearing from God? It's something cliche to them. Like it's a religious, ideology, but I mean an actual intimate, real, personal relationship, people don't have that. And it's like, it's so second nature to us and it's so normal. We don't even treat it like the true gem that it really is. That's a treasure to have that. To have him speaking to you through dreams and visions, and to just be so personal and to close with him, and being able to hear his voice and understand his will for your life and what season you're in, and his guidance, that kind of stuff. Like, him as a real person. People don't know him like that. They understand him as a religious concept in a very abstract way. And I just think it's so interesting how, like, we have the main treasure that people should be chasing, but yet we still compare ourselves to people of the world. They have worldly wisdom, they have worldly skills and experience. Yes, that's true. They are prepared for everything they need in the world, but they but they don't know their own creator. They don't even know the most high. But yet you're, comparing yourself to these people. And if you really were to see what they're like behind closed doors, you probably would discover a lot of their frailties and ailments, and you'd be like, what the heck was I tripping on? Like, I'm here, feeling bad about myself and all this extra stuff. It's just a lot of stuff the Father shows me in dreams about people that y'all would be surprised. Like, well, I don't know these people and you don't know them, but I'm just saying, like, in general, everybody has their own, handicaps. It just may not look like your personal handicaps. So, that just shocked me. And like I said, this is a woman who's much older than me. Yet, when it came to communicating with us as her employees, secretly, she even had one of the employees that she fired, because she fired me and she fired somebody else in the dream. And she had that girl typing on a typewriter to the rest of us what she had to say. She wasn't comfortable not wearing any makeup. She had like some base foundation on just to kind of come to talk to us, and she just looked really run down in the dream. And I just remember discerning this strong sense of insecurity and this deep just woundedness in her spirit, that she was not a secure, confident person at all. Like, this is who she really is, behind the scenes. And he had just pointed that out to me, because as I was saying earlier in the video, that is a personal insecurity that I deal with. And to the point where it's almost like, produce self-hatred. And it's like, it sounds crazy, but it's like you hate yourself because you're handicapped in certain areas, or you haven't gotten a chance to really mature or develop in certain areas that other people around your age have, and you feel like that's attributed to like your self-worth, and it's really not. I mean, learning and education and development, they're tools. It's necessary, but that has nothing to do with your worth or your value. Your worth and your value comes from God alone. You know, I think that probably needs to be emphasized in this video. Somebody needs to remember that. Me being somebody, I'm somebody. But I mean, it's easy to do that because, it's always like this comparison that we do. We compare ourselves to other people subconsciously. And I think that's where a lot of spirits of witchcraft come from, like rejection and stuff, and that's why so many people deal with jealousy. It's always comparing and, not realizing that on a different layer, maybe behind the scenes, this person has probably, if not the same handicap that you do, and they're just hiding it really well, it's a different kind of handicap. You know, their strengths may be your weakness and vice versa. Like, for example, kind of like what I just said, but the girl that I had stayed with prior to coming to Melanie's house, she works a corporate job, and she works a corporate full-time job, so she has this corporate experience. She's obviously, she has the qualifications to have a job like that, but, and I don't have that kind of experience. I don't have a lot of job experience at all, actually. But I also found it interesting, just being around her personally. I could tell she didn't really know the Lord like that. I started to kind of learn and pick up over time, being in her home, that she wasn't really close to him. She doesn't really know his voice, which is where a lot of, that's actually what resulted in her actions and her doing what she did, as far as how she released me from her home. It was just a lot of confusion. She didn't know his voice. She couldn't tell what he was instructing her to do through a dream. It was just a lot of stuff I didn't know about her until I got, with her up close and personal. And I noticed she didn't really have any true fruit as a Christian or as a sister. But yet I had been in fellowship with her for like years. It was weird. I mean, of course, through social media and stuff, but that's what I'm talking about, though. Like, you see how she was skilled and she's mature to a degree. She has her own apartment. She has all the things that you're very insecure about. But yet, when it comes to a personal relationship with the Lord, even when we would pray together, her prayers are very, I'm not saying this to be mean or anything. She just prayed like a child. Not saying that you have to be articulate and deep all the time when interceding. It's just I noticed that she just didn't have like any real substance to what she would say. I just noticed those type of things. So it's like that's a perfect example of how somebody can be. She has her experience that she needs to have as far as what you would consider her to be a mature and developed adult. She has her own apartment. She's living her own life. She's successful to a degree as far as a corporate job, but she doesn't really know the father like that. I mean, that's just a fact. But then you have you on the other hand, you don't have those things. And he has you here temporarily, staying with this person until he takes you to your next step. But you have all of those qualities. You have those spiritual insights. You have him speaking to you. You know how to come to him in prayer and touch on specific topics. And, it just makes me think of how the scripture says the Holy Spirit, gives us utterance, or um, he prays things with moanings and groanings, or words that cannot be uttered because we don't always know what to pray. But sometimes he can translate that through you, which is why when people intercede, they have a more articulate speech because it's the wisdom of Elohim praying through that person. So that's what I'm talking about. You can have somebody who's extremely super spiritual that actually has that close connection and relationship with the Father, but they might not always have all of the worldly wisdom that everybody else has. So it's like, well, which one is more valuable? You know, not to do comparisons, but you have to because it is a comparison. And that's a perfect example. So I was blessed to see that in this dream. That is an insecurity that I have. I think the Father even has me going over this dream because he's actually dealing with me about that. And the Father doesn't want any of his kids feeling like that. And the fact that he's even highlighting, or he's bringing me back to dreams, or he's showing me that just in my ministry alone, the people that he's going to have me meeting and encountering in all these different spheres, like it's people, I've noticed it's always people that are just like me. They deal with the same stuff that I deal with, like right now. That like even right now in the dream, like I said, she fired me and a couple of my coworkers, and she has like this Jezebelian, like, BPD type of personality. She was like really explosive in the dream, just, freaking out, just for us to get, behind closed doors with her, and she doesn't even have proper communication skills. So obviously he's appointed me to this woman because she deals with the same strongholds that I deal with, which has probably resulted in a poor personality disorder just like that. But me having the spiritual insight of the spirits, and the trauma responsible for things like that that she probably doesn't know about, when I meet this woman at that point, the things that I've experienced and that I've gone through, I'll be able to assist her more, and I'll be able to be in a better place to minister to her. So yeah, just with this one dream, and this is just one out of like 100, ministry dreams, career dreams, and stuff. I just wanted to encourage y'all, just like me, especially if you're dealing with the same thing that I deal with. Like I was saying in my last video, you just have to sit in your truth. If the Father has not made those specific tools and qualities available to you for you to mature and for you to develop more the way that you probably want to, it's for a reason. And that's just something that we just always forget about. It's just the Father's sovereignty. If he wanted you to have all that stuff, he could have gave it to you like a long time ago. He's not bound, from like not, giving you these different things. He matures you in the areas he wants you to mature in the time and the season and at the rate that he wants you to mature in them. So for some people, especially prophets, prophets don't usually have a lot of worldly wisdom. They don't have street smarts. They have Bible smarts. They know Yahuwah. They don't know the world. So these are people who are just usually in corners with him so that they can learn how to hear from him, because the kind of mandate that they have, if this is somebody that has to take the word of Yahuwah himself and the burdens of his heart, the cares and the concerns of his hearts to other people who probably don't know Yahuwah as intimately. Perfect example would be Moses and the Israelites. They literally said in scripture, we don't want to see his face. We don't want to hear his voice because he's too scary and intimidating. You just be the mediator. So being a prophet, requires for you to be in a constant state of seclusion. This man was literally on the mountain with Yahuwah for 40 days and 40 nights, I think, while they were down, made a whole nother God and was just doing all this crazy stuff. So people that are really in a secret place to really get to know him and learn his voice, they don't have that time to just kind of be free in the world and learning worldly things and learning worldly wisdom. So you'll probably see them a lot more spiritual. They're a lot more divinely connected and isolated. They're just on a different frequency and a different mind. So they're very, peculiar people versus people who are what you would consider mature and, successful, and they got their family and their jobs and their businesses. Oh, wrong pipe. So, yeah. And, another thing about that too that I've noticed, I noticed that a lot of prophets in the Bible where they dealt with insecurity as well. That's also very interesting. Jeremiah and Moses, I can't speak for all of them, but I know, we know for a fact, obviously, Jeremiah and Moses, they were really insecure. Moses almost didn't even go through with his assignment because he just felt like he just wasn't fitting for what the Father wanted him to do. And Jeremiah as well, I think he was just, complaining about how he was too young. I'm just a boy. I don't want to do this and that. The Father was like, I ordained you from the foundation of the world to be a prophet. I shaped you in your mother's womb. Like, how are you going to tell me that you can and can't do this? So, I wouldn't be surprised if biblical prophets, they probably had some, psychological handicaps and some of the same similar ailments that we probably deal with. We would have no way of knowing that unless he told us. But you can kind of see in scripture, I'm like, for somebody to be that insecure, like Moses, you literally had the Father tell Moses what was going to happen, like verbatim, and he still would freak out every time Pharaoh like did exactly what the Father said he was going to do. And he got so angry at Moses. He was like, "Fine, I'll just send Aaron to be the freaking mouthpiece, and you can just do the action." Like when he was supposed to do all of it. So I just think that is so funny. But anyway, I hope y'all kind of got the gist of the message. I kind of just wanted it to encourage y'all to just kind of sit in your truth. I feel like it's hard for us to just really be secure in our own identities and, allow the Father to grow us at the rate that He wants us to grow at, because we're always comparing ourselves to people because we're under the impression that they're doing better in areas that we're not really, growing or successful in. And it's like, well, whether that's true or not, first of all, it may not even be true. There's so many people that can, they just have a false pretense, a false superficial, picture of what their lives and what their marriages are like on social media. You don't know, these people could be completely freaking miserable behind the scenes. Um, just you just be surprised, okay? Nobody should really be in a position to compare themselves to anybody on this earth, because we can clearly see from scripture, even the greatest kings, the Father said he rose them up. Nebuchadnezzar, I gave that kingdom to you. I gave this king his strength. Any king that's ever taken out any other king or taken any other kingdom down or spoiled any nation, the Father, he says, I gave them over to this nation. I gave this king strength. Or he's able to anoint, wicked kings, wicked people with his spirit so that they can prophesy. Then when he's ready to leave, he leaves. So it's kind of like scripture is true when it says, through our weakness that his strength is made perfect, that we really cannot do anything apart from Christ. So anything that you see somebody else, have, it came from the Father. I know like that's a basic understanding that we have, but we don't really believe that, because if we really did believe that, we wouldn't be jealous of other people. We wouldn't have like this intense inferiority complex and this intense insecurity. And it's like whatever the Lord's allowed her to have, he gave that to her. Whatever you have, at this time, whatever even you don't have, the Father is the one restricting it for his purposes, and he's the one that gave that to you. So, everybody, I personally believe, even though we can't see it, we need to understand and accept that everybody is on a balancing scale to some degree. And we're only here as instruments of Yahuwah to do what he wants everybody to do. So, nobody has anything on this earth that he didn't give them for his purpose. And if you see that with kings in the Bible, the greatest kings, people in the government, the elites, he has them there for his purpose. They didn't attain anything on their own. They can think that. I'm sure Lucifer probably has them deceived that he gave them those things. But even what Lucifer has, the Father gave to him. So he's an instrument. We're all instruments. So I think a lot of us don't want to be broken instruments. And it's kind of like, like I said, everybody's broken. You probably just can't see their personal brokenness and how they're handicapped. So, I've seen this so many times, even with a particular job I was telling y'all about. I saw a very, what I would say, professional personality with, oh, Kalia, I miss you. You didn't text me back. I'm mad at you. And I still got your $25 coming back. I ain't forgot. But anyway, um, a perfect example would be, I've seen a very professional personality and character with human resources and the way they conducted themselves, very business savvy and everything. But this guy was a flaming faggot. Like, he was a straight up homosexual. So, and no disrespect to you brethren out there who may still be struggling with homosexuality, but I mean, it's just a fact. Like, that's what I'm talking about. So, you don't even know what his handicap could be. Yeah, he has a corporate personality and he has all those smarts and everything to get a job like that. And that can be intimidating for somebody who probably feels like they don't have that. But I mean, if you allow your mind to go that far, what caused him to be a homosexual? He could have gotten raped, he could have been molested. This guy could be tormented behind the scenes and struggling with like his identity just because he's gay. And the manager that I had over me that was I think a little bit under him, this chick just treated me like crap on the job because she was jealous of me, but she was my manager. She had more experience than I did. She was older than me, but she was jealous of me. This and the father confirmed that after I left the job too, that she was just really insecure. That's why she had like a what do they call that? When people just abuse their authority and they're just really big headed and they have to be in a position of power to control other people. Usually, people like that are really insecure. Narcissists really underlyingly deal with some deep rooted insecurity. That's why they have to be in positions over people where they feel like they can control you and kind of tell you what to do. I'm the HBIC type of thing. I've discerned that with so many people that I've worked with. You'd be surprised. But yet, these are people that are in positions of power. These are people that are in authoritative positions. They're in management positions over you, but they could be jealous of you. So, jealousy in itself is reflective of a personal insecurity that we have within ourselves. It's really weird. And it's just kind of like, why is everybody sitting up here comparing themselves to people when it's clearly people that you idolize that are probably worse off than you are? Like just the stuff that I watch a lot of like YouTube videos. You'd be surprised how many celebrity entertainers, like, behind the scenes, they're just basic people. Like, I mean, if you didn't know them for like their celebrity persona, you probably would not want to spend time with them in person because they're just not that interesting. um their profession makes them interesting. They could be talented in different areas in ways that you probably appreciate and that you like, but if you got to know them personally, it probably wouldn't even be somebody that you even want to give the time of day. So that's what I'm talking about. So as for my personal ailments, I think he's trying to help me, first of all, accept, your personal crippledness, your personal handicap, because the main people that I'm calling you to, they're women and people who are just like you. So it's kind of unfair for you. It's almost like, it's kind of like the same with colorism. You know how like in the Hebrew community, black community, we have like all different shades and colors, of our people, but we deal with a lot of self-hatred as well. And it's just kind of like, how can you hate yourself for Um, I want to say this the right way. I'll just use Lil Kim as an example because Lil Kim, there's like this word right now. I was watching a video about how Lil Kim is just so angry with Notori from 3LW for playing her in I think the Biggie movie, which I never watched, but she was upset because Notori is dark skinned. And you know, Lil Kim has an inferiority complex. She bleached her skin. She did all this crazy stuff. She got all this cosmetic surgery. Took like a light skinned woman because when she was a Biggie years ago, he basically was with Kim for like years and just dumped her when Faith Evans came along and married Faith because she was the more light complected, you know, prettier woman. And she said she really struggled with that. And all the guys that she used to date, they just cheated on her with light skinned women. So that's why Lil Kim is dealing with the issues she's dealing with. And she has like this hatred for Notori. Notori looks like an actual, like, really professional, like, nice, you know, beautiful, you know, authentic woman. Like, I like her. I don't see anything wrong. I don't know her personally, but Lil Kim hates this woman. And it's just because she's a reflection of who Lil Kim really is. Like, you hate yourself. Lil Kim was dark complected before she did all that stuff. I don't think she was. I wouldn't see her as a chocolate woman. She wasn't chocolate or anything, but she was like, you know, pretty brown skin, like Foxy Brown and stuff. But she's kind of she's a figure or an emblem that I want to use for what I'm trying to talk about. It's kind of like, you know, you deal with this issue or you have like these elements and these, you know, frailties about yourself. And it's like, it's just not fair to other people who are dealing with the same thing. I'm trying to find a better way to say it, but I don't really know how. Or how, like, if you're gay or you're a homosexual, you know, you have like this overt, dramatic hatred for gay people. And as we know, a lot of gay people will say, well, that's because they're probably in the closet. And it's almost like, you know, they probably have some inner secret turmoil. They're upset to see that you can be free in your sexuality. And we know homosexuality is not freedom. I'm just saying, you know, how the world sees stuff. This person is out. They're out the closet. They're open. They're openly gay, telling everybody they don't care, you know, people, you know, seeing that they're with a whole nother, you know, man or a whole nother woman. They can live in their truth. But somebody who secretly hates themselves and they're dealing with those same feelings, they're afraid of that, you know, public scrutiny and that shame and that humiliation, that embarrassment. So, and plus they see it as disgusting. It is disgusting, but you know, they know that. So it's almost like it creates like this kind of like, you know, psychotic envy that you can be free and you can live in your truth, and I'm dealing, or I feel the same way, or I like the same sex as well. I'm a part of this community secretly, but I can't live in that truth comfortably. So I'm just gonna take that out on y'all and just set y'all on fire. Like, I've just heard of some stories online because I watch a few like blog channels. People just do some sick stuff to homosexual and transgendered people. I'm like, I don't support it at all, but I'm just like, yeah, but y'all are, that doesn't give you the right to just be finding these people and like raping them and like leaving them like their bodies dismembered just because it was a transgendered male. You know, like, people really do show their hatred for people that are a part of that LB, I forgot what it's called, lesbian, gay, bisexual. So it's LGBT community and stuff. They're still a human being, and more than likely it's a broken soul. I mean, when you get into something like homosexuality as a form of perversion, that's some trauma. I don't know anybody that just openly agrees to something like that. The very act of homosexuality and sexual perversion is you have to go against like your moral compass. Your conscience is not going to allow you to be accepting of a lifestyle like that in the early stages, which is why a lot of homosexuals commit suicide. And it's why a lot of them are afraid to come out to people because they know it's not accepted. They already know within themselves it's not right. So there's nobody, I don't think there's anybody that can comfortably progress into a lifestyle of perversion like that without going against their conscience first. You know that it's wrong. You know it's inherently wrong before you even, you know. I think people are coming out more because they see everybody else is living in their filth and they're comfortable with that. So it makes them a little bit more comfortable to kind of come out too with the darkness is in their hearts. I don't want to get into that, but um I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, it's associated with trauma. I think all homosexuality is associated with some type of trauma. Some open door the enemy came in through, even if it was in the womb, because it's just not a normal thing. Like, you know, it's not accepted. It has nothing to do with everybody else not accepting you because you're gay. You don't accept you because you're gay. They don't admit that. Say that first before you want to attack all the straight people who don't want to deal with that disgusting nonsense, who don't want to see you walking hand in hand with another big hairy man that's just as big and hairy as you are. I mean, it is nasty. You know, they always want to come for straight people, you know, like we just have this, you know, bigoted bias and all this stuff. It's like, no, you hate us because you hate yourself. It's not about us not accepting you, because truthfully, if you really loved yourself, if you were really okay with your lifestyle, you didn't see nothing wrong with it, you wouldn't even care what somebody else had to say. There wouldn't be like this, there wouldn't be no reason for a gay pride parade and the gay pride this and that. This, you know, why do you have to prove to people that what you're doing is okay if you genuinely believe that it's okay? You know it's not okay. You know you don't have any peace within yourself and your own conscience that this is the way that you should be living. And you know that what you're doing is disgusting. That's why you have an issue when that's actually voiced and demonstrated through somebody who's living that truth, that it is disgusting. Because you already know that. That's why a lot of us hate conviction. You ever experienced that when you hear like a conviction and a message the Father already kind of dealt with you about? And it's like, you know, when you hear somebody talk about head coverings, or when you hear about somebody saying we shouldn't wear makeup or something like that anymore, you have a special anger towards that. Because it's like you already know inherently in your spirit that the Father doesn't want you doing those things. But to hear somebody voice it, it just takes you to a whole nother level of anger. When you have another sister who probably isn't talking about those things, you know, or those particular issues, you can watch her just fine. People just have their own personal triggers due to their own convictions that they already have and stuff. But anyway, um, that's definitely trauma. You were definitely raped. Something happened. Some molestation took place. I never. I just think even getting into the homosexual community from a ministry perspective, it's just so much, because it's like I think they have their own personality disorder. Isn't homosexuality a mental illness? I think they say it's actually classified as a mental illness, because they just, their whole reality just doesn't make sense. Like, even from the standpoint of, even though a lot of them went through some type of sexual abuse that probably was the gateway for that lifestyle, they kind of do this thing where they're like, oh no, but that's not why I'm gay. You know, that has nothing to do with why I'm gay. It's like it does have everything to do with why you're gay. If you had never had that sexual encounter, you wouldn't even be interested in furthering, you know, your curiosity, you know, with having sex or being with the same sex. Or you feel violated, you felt emasculated. So I think a lot of people just accept homosexuality because they're like, well, I had my manhood taken away from me at this age. I don't even feel like I have what it takes. I don't even have any real substance in me to really be a man. So it's easier for me to be effeminate and to kind of go on this side with the females, because I'll be accepted over there because I'm already broken down. So, and but then they know all of that. Behind the scenes, internally, they know all this stuff already, but then they're gonna come on the surface and be like, okay, that's a bunch of BS. That's not why I'm gay. Y'all always want to use the molestation, rape card. I'm the way I am because I like the same sex and I just love blah. I'm like, no, that's not. No. You're gay because you were violated, because you were emasculated, and that's where you're more comfortable being, on the bottom, because that's how you feel about yourself. It's true. You're more comfortable being effeminate and being weaker, being softer, because that's how this person left you, in shambles. They left you completely damaged. They left you feeling like you're not a man. They took away from you what you needed inside to have a confidence to really stand in your manhood. You need somebody to help you put those pieces back together for you to be a real man. That's why you're comfortable hanging out with a whole bunch of chicks. It ain't got nothing to do with, oh, that's who you are, you're happy and you're true. That's a bunch of bull crap. No gay person is happy. You a liar. I'll call everybody on their bluff on that crap. No gay person is happy. You're tormented. And that has not, that's aside from the spirits in you, you know, that come in through a lifestyle like that. They're conflicted inside. That's why a lot of them end up getting, you know, sex changes and stuff like that. That crap is not normal. That's somebody that's extremely tormented. Seriously. And same thing with women who get cosmetic surgery and get their whole face just rearranged. Like you can't even recognize the person anymore. That's a tormented soul. That's some severe identity crisis. How you feel and what's going on the inside is always going to reflect on the outside. You don't know who you are, or if you do know who you are, truly at your core, you hate that version of yourself. So you're able to change the outside. It just shows like this inner conflict. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't like myself. I don't love myself. And Kim Kardashian. I was watching an interview with Nick Cannon. He dated Kim before she really got popping like that. He was saying Kim would just always be insecure. She never liked herself or the way she looked. Um, Same thing with her sister. Oh gosh, she's the worst. They're all insecure. I used to watch their show is boring. I don't watch it, but I mean when I did used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Um, Chloe's very insecure. Sometimes they do like little confessionals where she's sitting next to Kim, and you can just see all over just Chloe's body language, her facial expressions. She knows that she is the inferior sister in comparison to Kim because she doesn't look as pretty. Hey Paloma. She doesn't look as good as Kim. And if you ever watch their show, if they ever do a confessional or a screenshot where it's like Kim and Chloe together, you can see it all over Chloe. Kim is insecure. Just the stuff she's done to herself is just. I mean, there's vanity, but I just can't see somebody that truly loves themselves and really accepts themselves the way they are making any changes like that. I mean, that's common sense. If you loved your breasts and you loved your boobs and your stretch marks and all this stuff, you wouldn't feel a need to change it or anything. But their other sister, what's her name? I can't even think about it off the top of my Kylie. Oh, that girl. That girl is so insecure. It's insane. But it's true. So yeah, it's a lot of and I think that's even more why I think we should really just stress identity in the body of Christ to just really getting back to who we really are as a people. Because, and this is even something, especially dealing with like, borderline personality disorder, or just other, personality disorders and stuff. Um, Identity crisis is usually attributed with that. And that's something that I personally deal with. And I think that, this revelation of who we are as Hebrew people is where the Father kind of started, to kind of help shape and mold you into who you're supposed to be by showing you who you really are. If you want to know who you, I know her lips is thin. You have to talk about her lips. I was trying not to say all that. Y'all being petty in the comments. But, but yeah, you have to go back to your roots. We all have a foundation. We all have a starting point. And I just think the self hatred in the black community is insane. Even with, I mean, aside from all the other stuff, but it's just like, even with like the Hebrew revelation, so many black people, like, they detest that revelation. And of course, it has a lot to do with the spiritual responsibility to it because that's why I don't go crazy about trying to disciple black people and be telling them all that. Sometimes I do. If I feel led to just share it with them, I'll share it with them and stuff. But what comes with that though, once you find out that that's who we are as a people, okay, so if you're the chosen people, then you have a responsibility and a covenant with the Most High that you haven't been faithful to. They don't want that. They probably aren't religious to begin with. So the idea that you think telling these people, which I'm not saying everybody, I did have a dream when the Father showed me. I was telling black people in the mall who we were, and they were happy. So a lot of people, they are soul searching, they are looking for a sense of identity, like, because they see how we're treated. I'm sorry, this vlog is turning into something completely different, but I'm gonna just let it flow. But they see how we're treated, and when you just have a certain people in the world making you feel like you've been nothing for such a long time, and they show you by their treatment, and in contrast to how we're treated, to other races and stuff, like it starts to kind of, make you feel like I am nothing, and you are seeking, like I have to be somebody special, like there has to be some type of relevance or significance to me as a person. And then, you have Father quicken their spirits and he leads them to the truth of who they are as a Hebrew people. So you do have some people who are looking for that, and they will return back to where they're supposed to be, which is in covenant with the Father and, living according to his ways. But a lot of people, they don't want that. So it wouldn't really benefit them to tell them that, because they're going to find out that they're royalty and not want anything to do with the holy lifestyle. So they're going to remain trash because they choose to be trash. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, a lot of people have a lot of handicaps that you wouldn't know anything about. It's not going to benefit any of us to be comparing ourselves to each other. Because truthfully, there is no comparison. I firmly believe, since the Father, we all have our own individual DNA, and He has a unique purpose and will for all of us. Even if we all did the same thing, it wouldn't be done the same way. And nobody would be able to do it the way that we would do it. So even if we were all programmed to do something similarly, we would not do it exactly the same. So comparison is just retarded in general. I think that comparison is something that we're programmed with. When the main people who are showing you these sexy bodies and these, curvaceous bodies, and some people have that naturally, some people don't have that naturally. Or, this photo enhanced, facial, it's just all this stuff. Like, they don't even look like that. So it's just like, comparison is stupid, you know. If you want to grow or you want to develop in different areas and different rates, I mean, and I feel like we even emphasize, particular type of things. Like, everybody needs to work. So we're always sizing ourselves up with somebody else's success, because that's just the matrix. You have to work in order to eat. So if somebody's more successful or they're really advancing financially in some business aspect and you don't have that, you feel like that reflects on your self-worth. That has nothing to do with your self-worth. They have things accessible to them that you didn't have. If you had those same things, you would be doing the same exact thing, but you wouldn't be doing it the same way. So comparison is just retarded. And it's just like, we're not doing this with artists, like people who are like, extreme professional talented painters. Are we comparing ourselves to them? Like, oh man, they can paint, I can't paint. You have no interest in painting. Why are you comparing yourself to a painter? It's like, but if you wanted to advance in that, you could just go take some painting classes. And guess what? You're going to be a skilled painter, right? Same thing with guitar lessons, envying somebody that plays really good guitar. Like, okay, they practice that for years. You don't just come out the womb knowing how to play with some strings. Like, they took classes for this or they really practice. So I mean, it's just stupid stuff. It's like a lot of this stuff is just kind of like, you know, um, I don't want to say everything is accessible to the same groups of people, because it's not. We had our own education withheld from us as Hebrew people. Our ancestors did. So, but that's what I'm talking about. This whole stigma that we're stupid, that we're dumb, we're uneducated, we just act like some monkeys, and a lot of us do act like monkeys, but it's because y'all didn't give us the same things that y'all gave to white people. So it's like, well, what do you expect us to be? That doesn't make it. See, you see, it has nothing to do with your self-worth or your value as a human being. They made you feel that way because they stripped you. They took your freaking heritage from you. They took your God from you. They took your culture from you. They copied a lot of your culture. Basically just hijacked your whole identity. And it's kind of like when you get stripped butt naked like that, how are you supposed to? You don't have any foundation to stand on. And that's not talking about the ancient Israelites who actually knew where they came from. They had the kingdoms, they knew the Most High. They knew what they did, to get exiled and to get spanked the way they did. But as far as our ancestors that came in after them, their descendants and their children, they didn't come in knowing the Father. They don't even know anything about who we are. So it's kind of like, well, how can you expect this black community, this black culture, this black race of people to have any true reflection of self-love if they don't even have any true substance or foundation to pull from? You don't even know who you are. So you see why you have to go back to the root when you're dealing with identity crisis. I have to go back to who I am. I got to find who I am first, and then we build up from there. So it's not fair that even once you do come into this revelation of who the true Hebrews are, people try to make you feel bad about having pride in that, but you don't know how long we've been looking for identity. And now that I find out that I'm freaking royalty, a lot of people go hard with that revelation. They start wearing the costumes. They change their whole name. Like, they change it to a Hebrew name. They repping the Most High, and they're repping their people and, who they are, their own individuality. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with that if you're doing it apart from Christ. So it's not all about the heritage, but the heritage part does matter. Scripture even says that. So, no, a lot of black slaves, I mean, that sounds like something that was very intentional. You took everything away. You took them from their homeland, and then you took everything away from them, and then you made it to where they could not be properly educated like other people around them because you wanted to purposely train them to be slaves. Slave is not our identity. That's what we're known by. That's a systematic abuse tactic. Anybody can be made a slave if you do that to them. Anybody can. If you restrict somebody and only give them, I mean, basically treat them like a prisoner. Give them bread and give other people like steak and fish and fruits and vegetables and stuff. Well, that's why they're a slave. That has nothing to do with their identity. They're Hebrew people. They're not slaves. You made them a slave. You can program somebody to be a slave. You programmed them to be dumb because you kept education and intellect away from them. So that's not fair. So like I said, comparison is I feel like it's kind of subjectory. It's not really like, it just depends on what's available to you. If you have guitar lessons available to you, then go learn how to play guitar. You'll be the best freaking guitarist there is, depending on how much you practice. And whether you have a divine muse or not. Because a lot of these people have a demonic spirits assisting them with their voices and stuff that you don't even know about. Like I said, stop comparing yourself to people. They probably can't even sing. They made a covenant with a whole demon. You're listening to a siren. That's what you're listening to. So, yeah. And just going back to what I was saying earlier, for those who are more educated and more wealthy and more business savvy, like the elites and stuff like that, where they're only that because the Father has allowed them to access those things. Once again, they would not be anything that they are if Father did not give them the grace to have those things for His purpose. So, once again, this goes nowhere. So my point of this message is, wherever the Father has you at right now, whatever handicaps that you have, whether it be like psychological handicaps or learning disabilities or physical handicaps, maybe you're kind of short-circuited with what you can do physically and what other people can and can't do. That's your truth. You still have to love who you are as a person. In a community, just the Hebrew community in general, the black community, but even just the world, it's just built on so much self-hatred. And I think that that's why we have so much demonic infiltration and why people are so demonically defiled with these spirits, because you have all these rejection spirits, because people are just tormented. And it's like, it begins with you just accepting and loving yourself. I had the Father tell me that through so many times through like dream interpretations and stuff, because I'll be praying to Him a lot about like my weight and everything, and just my body image, a lot of insecurities I have. I was so tormented by these spirits. I literally told the Lord, I'm not getting married because I don't like the way I look. Like, I do not want to show my bare body to another man. And it didn't even have much to do with fearing the guy rejecting me or not accepting my body. It's because, that's what I was saying about gay people. It's not about how other people feel about you. You hate yourself. This is a self thing. You think everybody else don't like you. You think everybody else is rejecting you. All this stuff is mental because you don't accept or love yourself. Trust me. I done seen some big obese women with some orangutan titties and everything, honey. I mean, they're not sexy by any means, but they the most confident woman, boss woman walking around here. They want you to call them fat. They'll be like, yes, honey, I'm fat and I'm sexy now. Like, So it doesn't matter what you look like. It just depends on how you feel about yourself, So, and I would just get so triggered because every time I would pray about it, He would give me a dream about it, then I would be interpreting the dream, and it would just be the same answer. Like, those spirits have a foothold in your life because you are not accepting and loving yourself. When you start to do that, they will break off. They don't have a stronghold anymore. And that's true that sometimes it does have to come through Father sending somebody into your life to show and demonstrate that love to you. He does do that a lot. Because for some of us, we're literally incapable of, we don't even know where to start to love ourselves. And Shaniqua, shout out to Shaniqua, I love that girl. She is so pure. I love her a lot. She actually did a video on how to love yourself, and I'm going to put that in the description box so y'all can watch it. I've been meaning to do her little step-by-step, thing, because she struggles with that as well. She's developing her self-love journey, and I think it would help a lot of us, actually, because I think everybody deals with self-rejection. Maybe not to the same intensity as other people, but everybody deals with it to some degree, because we keep doing this comparison thing, and it's like, stop doing that. Like, I've had so many friends and so many sisters, and some of them are on this chat, Paloma and Chan and stuff. I've had so many people that I've just met through my YouTube ministry just say all these positive things they think about me, and like, it's kind of weird because it's like I know those things intellectually, but I would never believe it about myself. I still had self-hatred despite what anybody would say about me. So it just goes to show, like, it could be a situation to where everyone dislikes you, or it could be a situation where everybody likes you. They see all the positive attributes, they see all the positive qualities, and they don't really emphasize or magnify your flaws like a few people who don't matter, do. But it all goes back to how you feel about yourself. You can have a million people tell you you're beautiful and that you're the best singer and performer and all this stuff. And if you truly hate yourself within, that will do absolutely nothing for you. And to the point that you will still even convince yourself that these same people who have already voiced how they see you hate you. That's what and it can become a mental illness. That's what rejection identity crisis does to you. We have to get to a point where we love and accept ourselves the way that we are. And, we don't give ourselves grace either. So I think what I was trying to say earlier is, if you don't even want to accept yourself as being a dark-skinned person, if you don't even want to accept yourself as being a black woman or a black man, or you don't want to accept yourself as being overweight, dang, I lost it again. How the heck was I going to say that? Oh, I lost how I was supposed to. That's the point I was trying to make. Like, it's just an insult to people who are dealing with the same things. Like, how are you going to love somebody else? Or it's like you're saying that this person is not worthy to be loved, or this group of people is not worthy to be loved or appreciated either, but you look just like them. It's like that speaks volumes about a woman who's dark-skinned that hates her complexion and goes, to degrees to bleach her skin. But what are you saying about the rest of us who are dark-complected women? And then I'll be like, oh, no, it's just me. It's just some personal insecurities I had. I just, I did that for me. I love dark-skinned women. You don't love dark-skinned women because you are a dark-skinned woman and you destroyed your dark skin. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, that's not, it's abusive. So you see why self-hatred, it even flows into your treatment of other people and how you see other people. Because if you see yourself that way, I think it's why the Father says that, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So it begins with you. A lot of the fruit that we're supposed to have in Christ comes from self-love. And a lot of us don't even know how to love ourselves. How are you going to love other Christians, especially lost people? Now, I'm not saying that we're fully incapable of loving, period. We can genuinely, love somebody, but the kind of love that the Father wants us to distribute to people, you would have to be treating yourself that way first. You would have to be graceful to yourself in your weak areas. You'd have to be accepting of your flaws. You'd have to give yourself a break when you make a mistake and when you go off the lid or go off the handle. And it's just kind of like, what I see when I see Christians that are really quick to condemn other Christians, or they're like extremely religious and they just like to rebuke people all the time. It shows you how they treat themselves. They're really hard on themselves. Because somebody who makes a mistake and they're able to forgive themselves and just kind of show grace to themselves in that area, it's already programmed in their mind that when they see somebody else make a mistake, they're not going to give them a hard time because they don't give themselves a hard time. But with somebody that's constantly rebuking somebody, they're always pointing out somebody else's flaws. It's always like magnifying what's wrong with people. It's because it's a mindset of that's how they think about themselves. It's true. And the Father doesn't want that for any of us. He wants your mind to be renewed. He wants you to see people the way that He, sees people, through eyes of love. Not ignoring the handicaps and the sins and stuff like that. Like, I see it, but He's interested in not talking about what's already being taken care of. The Father's not retarded. You know, he doesn't have a mental handicap. He's not interested in expounding on the blatant things that we can see is wrong about people. He's in the business of correcting those things. So his thing is, okay, you brought it to me, I see it. This is what I've done to already take care of that. You just need to apply it. You're not doing that. You choose to focus on the darkness. You choose to focus on the sin and the flaw aspect that my son's blood has already covered. If you rested under that umbrella, this stuff would cease to exist, and y'all still don't get that. You don't have the mind of Christ. You're still carnal minded. You're still earthly minded. You're still looking at you and what's wrong with you instead of looking at me and how I've made you righteous already. If you were walking in a righteous truth of, you know, your identity, you would manifest who you really are. So, once again, as a man thinketh, so is he. You're not going to manifest Christ, the bearing fruit of the Spirit, if you don't even believe what he says about you. That's just the truth. You're going to manifest what you believe about yourself. You said that Lizzo juice. I don't even know who Lizzo. I know who Lizzo is. I never listen to any of her music. You said that Lizzo juice song is an example for lowering people with a false positive sound and video. Paloma said a good scenario is when you have your newborn baby and admire how gentle and beautiful they are, but they are the physical reflection of you, whom you hate. Ooh, girl, you just opened up another can of worms. But yeah, it's true, and it's like, I think people who bully other people and pick on other people for having insecurities have self-hatred, because self-hatred is just like such a common thing. It's on a subconscious level. You can hate yourself and not even really be aware that you're dealing with rejection or self-hatred. Not wanting to be black, or not even black people. Like I've watched like a lot of like channels like Jubilee and stuff like that. And I'm just interested in how other people think and other groups and stuff. There's Hispanic people that don't want to be Hispanic. And it's just they just don't want to be associated with their culture. I was watching another interview with Godfrey, because Godfrey is freaking hilarious. I was watching him on DJ Vlad the other day, and he was just talking about how Hebrew Dominican people, black people in the Dominican Republic, they will not claim being black for anything. Like, they will tell you they're Spanish, you know, this is their culture, you're taking their culture away from them, and you know, they do not want to be associated with being a black person. It's just like, that's what I was saying earlier. If you have this much self-hatred about your own personal ailments, and you know, you hate the fact that you're so handicapped in this area, or that you're not developed in this area, you don't have experience in this area, you're kind of crapping on the people who are kind of struggling with that stuff too. Like, so where's their grace for that? It's because you're not giving grace to yourself in that area. So it shows how you would treat people who are also handicapped in those areas, who also have those kind of, you know, personality disorders and stuff like that. And that's abusive. So it's hypocritical. When you don't live in your truth, it makes you look really crazy. Because then you start forcing yourself to be somebody that you're not, and then a lot of people don't even do that right. They just look really stupid, and it's just really embarrassing. You felt like an embarrassment, and it just made you start to live a lifestyle that became more of an embarrassment, because now everybody can see that you don't like yourself. And then you try to glorify insecurity. Like, this world is just full of so many broken people. I mean, the way we try to reparent and rebuild ourselves is just like, you don't fix your self-esteem by fixing the outside. You fix your self-esteem by soul searching and going back to your roots and discovering who you truly are. And then once you find out who that person is, you have to accept her and you have to love her. And once you accept her and love her and you water your own garden, then you're going to blossom into who she's supposed to be. You're not ever going to become that by trying to be somebody else. That's not you. It's just so weird. Like, there has to be some splitting and fragmentation with people who do that. And this is just everybody. Everybody does this. That's why I say it's done. Everybody does it. It's just on different levels. even with just the makeup and stuff, just getting made up, and just, us having these different personas once the makeup is on, or once we get around certain kinds of people, we just change. The personality just changes, and it's like these are people who are subconsciously dealing with multiple personality disorder, and they would tell you, oh no, I don't deal with anything like that. It's like, you do, because who you truly are at your core, you're neglecting her. That's why they're going to stay tormented no matter how good they look, because the part of you that you know is really you, you hate her. You don't want anything to do with her. You hate her so much to the point where you've created an entire different persona, an entire different appearance. You want to be somebody else so bad. You're neglecting that core part of you that's still on the inside. She's not getting any love. Nothing. And she's still in you. That will for always be your soul person. That's who you are. And to go through this life for 50 years just to die and, reach the Father on Judgment Day, and you never watered your own garden, you never allowed that tree to grow to who she or he was really supposed to be, that's just really sad. That's a miserable person. They're lying to you if they say they're not miserable. They're very miserable because they're not watering themselves. I can speak from personal experience. Rejection, the internal insecurity, the anxiety, that stuff is, oof, honey, it's not. And it even makes you wonder, like, why do you treat yourself that way? Like, why don't you just accept yourself and love yourself the way you are? And if you want to correct something or make something better, or, um, develop in certain areas, if you have it accessible to you, just do it. If you would like it accessible to you, just ask the Father to make a way. And if he doesn't, just accept that that's just not what he wants you to have right now. It's not necessary to the person that he's trying to mold you to be, or for what he wants you to do. You don't need that. You don't need to have all these musical abilities if he didn't call you to music. So why are you comparing yourself to people that can sing and that can blow? Well, you're not called to be a blower. It doesn't make any sense. It's displacement. It's just identity crisis with every freaking body. That's why I say, if you want to know who you are, go back to your roots. You cannot abandon the roots. You have to go back to who you are. You have to discover who you are. And once you find out, and this isn't even just from like a cultural perspective, or, a racial background, or just an identity as a people, but even just you as a person, a lot of us just try to make ourselves like and just do things that other people like and do because you want to be accepted. Have you ever just kind of like decided to just kind of, take some time alone to yourself and make a list of the things that you just genuinely like to do as a person? What's your favorite color? A lot of us don't even know what our favorite color is because we're so used to trying to like what somebody else likes. Just make a list of like what your favorite color is. What is it that you like to do? What makes you happy inside? What kind of music do you like? And you have to kind of, when you don't know how to like love yourself, or you've been living in a false reality for so long, or identity crisis for so long, you have to kind of date yourself and just get to know yourself and discover who you are. And a lot of her, or his, if you're a brother watching this, um, a lot of your character traits and just who you are as a person, it's in you. You've been neglecting yourself for so long, you never got a chance to really know yourself. So once you get to know yourself and she or he comes out, then you can begin to love and to accept that person and to treat that person properly. And your attention isn't on everybody else and this other person that you're so obsessed with all the time. It's about you. You matter first. So yeah, just going back to the roots. Same thing with kingdom purpose, what we're supposed to be doing here. I would have to have the Father revealed. That's why I'm so passionate about these dreams that he gives me, because all of these dreams are his revealed will for my life. It's not for anybody else's life. It's for Brandy. I literally have a map and an actual guideline of his plans for me, vividly, of what he wants to lead me into. And I'm happy about that because that's my purpose. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to do or be anything else than what he has shown me and what he continues to show me along the way. Period. So there's no point in Father fashioning you to be a spoon when you're supposed to be a pot. And it doesn't make sense for a pot to compare themselves to a spoon. Well, you're tiny and I'm fat. It's like, well, you're bigger because you're meant to contain a lot of different food sources and to cook, and I'm here so I can help them with that once it's done. It's just stupid. Like, anyway, I kind of deviated away from my original purpose in making this video. Just accept your frailties and accept your ailments, and you have to, if you have them, it's not a curse, it's not a horrible thing. We all have them because we're all under the sin nature, not bound by it. As Christians, we're not bound by the sin nature, but we all have it. So nobody is really free from any particular handicap. We just have different ones. And if you discover that you do have those handicaps or those insecurities are not from the Father, we have that because we compare to other people. So insecurity just needs to be obliterated entirely. But just nurture it. It's, you have to see it as like a wound. If it is a shortcoming or if it is a handicap or something, just, treat it the way a handicap or a wound should be treated. You have to nourish it. You have to help it heal by treating it properly, by showing that part of you love if you are broken in that area. So and don't be dependent on other people to do that for you, because they may not always do that. Nobody can love you properly if they don't even know how to love themselves yet. If somebody's manifesting hatred and judgment and accusation and criticism, they don't even know how to love themselves. You can't depend on people like that to love you. You have to learn how to love yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of people with a message like this message is not going to break the cycle. People are still going to have self-hatred even after hearing something like this. So we have to be the ones to choose to break that cycle by choosing to love ourselves first. And I mean, if you want to continue rejecting who your core person is, and you don't really want to stand in your truth, Kim Kardashian, and we know how you really look without all of that. Same for the rest of them who do that mess. Well, I'm tired of feeling like this, and I'm going to choose to love myself. And I'm going to reparent her. I'm going to get to know her and the parts of her that I learn about her, the good and the bad. I'm going to just accept that, and that's just who I am. And the Father is interested in correcting it and making me better, but even He corrects and makes us better through love. He's not rejecting you and insecure about you, but then trying to fix you at the same time. Like, yeah, I hate you. You're just such a terrible daughter, or you're just so wicked, or you're just so lustful in this part. Like, I need to fix that. Like, that's not how He looks at you at all. His business is the business of improvement, and it's through accepting who you are in your current condition and state right now. And He doesn't hate any part of you. He just sees what can be improved, what's rotten and what needs to go, and what isn't a part of your original identity and blueprint that He made for you. The sin nature, a lot of things about your character and personality, it's not who you are, so He's interested in cutting it off. It doesn't mean that He hates you. Like I said, He doesn't have the same sick and demented mindset that we have of judgment and self-hatred and all this other stuff. He hates what's not from Him, you know. So instead of rejecting what you don't like about yourself, just accept it first and then work on improving it, basically. And so yeah, the parts of myself that I hate, those insecurities of not being developed in certain areas, as you can see, just even from a career perspective, I'm called to minister and to help people that I'm going to be working with who deal with those exact same things. So what do I look like judging? I guess that's what I was trying to say. See, every time I try to go with it, I lose again. Oh, I need to go back to that brain compartment like you just had it. How the heck was I trying to say this? And then I lost it again. Oh my gosh. Crap. Why does this keep happening? How was I going to say that? Ugh. Oh, okay, hold on, thank you. Crap. Okay, she said you were talking about your ministry being people who deal with insecurity and just reflecting how you may look. right. I don't know. I think I was gonna say that by you judging yourself, you're judging other people as well, and it's very like hypocritical. But I think I was gonna say something deeper than that, or just come at it from a different angle. But I forgot how the heck. Every time I think about it, like I lose how I wanted to kind of make that point. But yeah, basically, you neglecting to live in your truth and accept who you really are is saying a lot about, like, the people that you're appointed to be helping as well. So it's like, and I used to talk about displacement, spiritual displacement, like a lot, like in my 2017 videos. It's like that's like around the time when he was dealing with me about the Jezebel spirit, giving me a lot of revelations about her because she's attributed to insecurity and rejection. She's always going to be there when somebody's dealing with insecurity and rejection because she's an identity hacker. She is the person that comes to sit in the throne when you're not sitting in the throne. And a lot of people abandon their true identity and who they really are as a person. And when you leave and you get up from that proper placement, a spirit comes in and they sit in that place. And you're just kind of lost until you go back to your roots and go back to who you really are. And to be honest, that's why a lot of people can't really get deliverance. A lot of spirits you can't even cast out until you know how to deal with yourself first. So it depends on what kind of spirit it is. Some of them can come out really easily, but when you're dealing with something like Jezebel, that's always rooted in like rejection, insecurity, trauma, identity crisis. So it's like she's not really going to go anywhere unless this person is really dealing with some soul searching issues at the same time or at least beforehand, because she's in too deep. That spirit is deeply rooted in somebody like that, especially if they've gotten to the point where they're just split and they have different personalities and stuff. Yeah. um that's why a lot of women who are extremely vain, um they're narcissistic type women because they're carrying that spirit, and it has everything to do with abandoning your proper placement and who you really are as a person, to take on like this false persona, and you've given this demon this legal right to like help you live in that like illusion. It's just sick. A lot of people that we worship as celebrities are mentally ill, and they're demon possessed because they're mentally ill. So um yeah, I think that's how I see it. When I think about the people that the Father has shown me I'm going to be helping, it's kind of like, she's just like you. So it's like for you to hate these parts of yourself, to hate that you're so underdeveloped or that you've had the same sheltered lifestyle, which a lot of them in dreams he's shown me they deal with the same thing. It's almost like, you relate. I think what I was trying to say is like you relate to this group of people because that's your truth that you don't want to live in, but you don't want to be associated with it because of how you see it. It's embarrassing to you. And that just speaks volumes, not so much about the self-hatred aspect of it, but the fact that where the Father has appointed you to, you're in a perfect place to help them because you're dealing with these things yourself. And it's just kind of like this sense of self-rejection, like, no, Lord, I don't want to help people like that. I don't even want to talk about that because you hate that part of yourself. But you're, ignoring the fact that there's a whole sea of people out there that are dealing with what you're dealing with. And if you could genuinely get to a place where you accept that part of yourself, or you accept that particular frailty, you would be an amazing help to those people. But you don't want to accept that part of yourself, so how can you help these broken people who are dealing with the same thing? It's just really screwed up if you think about it. I don't want to help encourage other handicapped people in wheelchairs because I hate the fact that I'm a handicapped person that will, it's like, or just going back to like the black conversation. I don't want to support my own people because truthfully, I hate being black myself. So why would I want to support a people that are a reflection of myself and who I really am? I'm going to go migrate to people who are nothing like me. I'm going to go hang out with the white people. You see? So it just speaks a lot about your character. Um, you don't want to be associated with these African booty scratchers, so to speak, or whatever they want to call us. It's just not right. Um, I think that's what I was trying to say about that. Um, you're constantly trying to be somebody that you're not. And sometimes that could even develop to the point of like maladaptive daydreaming, creating a fantasy world of you seeing yourself as being somebody else. And usually that's where that starts before people start with the cosmetic surgery, the plastic surgery, before it actually starts manifesting on the outside. They've already been that person in their mind for a very long time before they even start getting all that stuff. So it's like you've abandoned your proper placement to the point of like becoming somebody entirely different. And your self-hatred is a hatred of people who are just like you. I think that's what I was trying to say. You think it's just you that you hate. No, you're speaking for an entire group of people who are just like you. They're not worthy of love to you. They're not worthy of that same level of respect and acceptance or acknowledgement. And that's what you are showing those people. That's what you're communicating by how you choose to continue to reject yourself. I think is what I was trying to say. Um, that's not fair. Um, Not to use this is a poor example because I don't support homosexuality, but like I was saying earlier, with the closeted homophobe, you hate us, but you're one of us. That's not fair. We relate in a lot of areas. You know, you could benefit. We could help each other in a lot of areas because you're struggling with the same homosexual tendencies that I'm dealing with, but you don't want to accept that reality, at least to deal with it head on. Not saying that you should walk and live like that. That's disgusting. But I'm just saying, as far as even getting to a place of acknowledgement that this is who I am or this is what I'm dealing with, where do we go from here? Well, you gotta accept it first. You don't want to do that. You're masking what you're really dealing with and who you really are and taking it out on the other people, abusing the other people, you know, who are living in that truth, or who will probably at least have come to a place of accepting that they are homosexual first. So it's just the same concept with nearly everything. You know, this shame factor. I'm ashamed of my ailments. I'm ashamed of my handicap. And I don't feel like, that part of me should be accepted. So I'm just going to find superficial alternative ways to be me, which isn't really me. And I'm going to reject everybody else who is a reflection of what the real me really is. And that's not right. So that's actually my video. That's what I was trying to say. He does it a lot, though. A lot of the people that I'm called to help, they deal with the same stuff that I deal with right now, the stuff that I'm ashamed of. And I think he's trying to get me to a place of stop being ashamed of it. Um, and like I said, whatever you have is what the Father allowed you to have. Whatever you don't have, He didn't want you to have it. So who are we to murmur and complain against the Lord for making us to be a sheltered or an isolated individual, when maybe He was the one who fashioned you to be that way because He wanted to help. He wanted to use you to help people like that. So that just takes things to a whole other level from a perspective wise, or a perspective stance. Like the Father is the one that fashioned you and your foundation, and He's the reason why you are what you are today, because you're supposed to be a testimony and a pillar to somebody else. You're supposed to be the figure to represent people who are just like that. And that's what the Most High made you to be. So if you're ashamed of that, you're embarrassed of that, that speaks volumes of how you feel about the Lord as well. So we need to get out of this place of just wanting to be something in somebody else other than what we are, and just learn how to accept what and who you are right now. And there's nothing you can do about that except to learn how to love this person right now the best way that you can. And if she blossoms and if she becomes somebody entirely different and improves, great. But that's not going to happen if you keep neglecting her and, living your truth. We have enough fake people, and a lot of people are fake because of stuff like this, because they don't live in their truth. This is ridiculous. Like, it just it just makes the even the quality of relationships that they have with people, like, how can there really be a relationship when a relationship consists of you getting to know somebody and loving the person, falling in love with the person that you're getting to know, but they don't even know themselves. They're not even living in their truth of who they are. You don't know them. There's no relationship. So you see, you're just stripping yourself of just the necessities of life with just not sitting in your proper placement and accepting your roots, accepting who you are and what you are right now. You have to love this person no matter, despite how broken they are right now. So, and give yourself grace. The areas that you're insecure in, they can be changed, especially if it's physical stuff. A lot of that stuff can be changed. I've been talking for entirely too long. I have to get back to this dream, so I just want to talk about that. And I hope that this message blesses y'all. Y'all can share it. You can do what you want to do with it. And I will talk to y'all later.